Let's look at what just happened at the glass farm, the glass house marijuana farm. Here's what people don't want to see. On the other side, they don't want to see people throwing rocks into the cars of federal agents. They don't want to hear that someone supposedly opened fire on them. They also don't want to learn that there are a bunch of kids there that are undocumented or unaccompanied, and they think this is crazy talk, and we should be focusing on that. For one thing, how did those kids get there?
Well, I just want to add one thing. We do have to go, but the UFW, the United Farm Workers, put out a statement about this. They said the UFW can confirm farm workers were critically injured yesterday during chaotic raids in Ventura County, California. Others, including U.S. citizens, remain totally unaccounted for. Many workers, including U.S. citizens, were held by federal authorities at the farm for 8 hours or more. U.S. citizen workers report only being released after they were forced to delete photos and videos of the raid from their phones. They also added that farm work is exempted from child labor laws. So
you're telling me undocumented?
I'm not saying the undocumented.
I'm not talking about work at a marijuana farm.
I'm not talking about the undocumented part, but according to this statement, in this country, not just at farm, not at marijuana farms, at all
semantics.
Farms.
Look at the reality of what we're talking about. How did
an
unaccompanied, undocumented 14-year-old in the middle of the day?
I believe that, and many people might believe, children should be subject to child labor laws.
Absolutely.
But it's true in this country that when it comes to agricultural work, they're not, and that includes marijuana farms. So the legality of their status is a separate issue, but the fact of children being there is not actually something that is necessarily illegal.
I have a really hard time believing
So there's that. So it's not unusual for there to be teenagers and working in a farm.
A 14-year-old can work at a marijuana growing.
It doesn't matter whether it's a marijuana farm or an apple farm.
A kid can't work at a bar.
It's agriculture. They're not smoking
if that's
marijuana.
The law, that's outrageous.
They're cultivating it.
Changed.
The point is this incident, and we're still learning a lot more about it, was very dangerous and put a lot of people, including ICE officers and those immigrants, in danger.
Federal law enforcement agents.
I agree with you, but the tactics are producing chaos and violence, and I think that is one of the things that's caused people to.
Who attacked first? That's my question.
We don't know.
Well,
we will find out.
Yeah, I wanted to just jump straight into today's video. As you just saw there, Abby Phillips just absolutely just disgusting, man. Just disgusting. Because it's not technically illegal, it's okay. That's what it sounded like to me she was basically saying. Well, because it's technically not illegal, it's fine. It's fine to have an undocumented, an illegal child working there. It's okay. So by that line of thinking, if somehow, some kind of way, some of these lunatics on the left managed to gain power again, right? And they legalized, I don't know, they legalized the unthinkable, right? I'm trying to keep this PG. They legalized messing with the young folks, right? You catch my drift. By that line of thinking, someone would say on their side of the aisle, because I would hope nobody over here would say that. That's absolutely disgusting. Well, because it's technically illegal, it's just like, wait, what? I don't give a damn if it's legal or not. That is disgusting and unacceptable. Like, bro, these folks, man. But there's more. There is more, bro. I know. Here's Scott Jennings with Abby Phillips.
Back to the thing I was most concerned about in reading all of this today, and that's that these little children are found on these farms. I mean, are we really saying here in the year 2025, well, we have to maintain the status quo of illegal immigration in the United States because we need little children to pick marijuana in California? It's like blowing my mind.
No, Scott, I think you're making a really, frankly, it's a very important point. I mean, the fact that young children, immigrants or not, are working on these farms, whether they're forced to because they have to make money for their families, or maybe they,
for whatever here to do that,
or for whatever reason. I totally agree that is something that we as a country need to address. But I think you have to acknowledge that there has been no effort made by policymakers, Republican or Democrat, to address the driving causes of that, which are the employers willing to employ these children. Who is employing a 16-year-old undocumented immigrant?
Yeah,
And
I
why
agree.
are those
I mean, one of the
questions not being
farms that was raided, I read, is even a Gavin Newsom donor. I think the governor of California should ask why you're doing these things. And I don't have a problem going after employers.
By the way,
I really don't.
I know you want to make it about California, but it's not about California.
Well, in this case,
there are more than a dozen states in this country allow children to work on farms. Who do you think those children are? Those children are more than likely going to be immigrants or undocumented immigrants.
But the cases we're dealing with today were
I'm just saying.
I'm
just saying it's not a California thing. It's it's a United States of America thing.
And if we're so concerned about children, Scott, there are parents who are being kidnapped by this agency where their children are in school. There are parents who are being kidnapped by this agency whose children are literally dying. And so if we're so concerned about children, maybe we should stop kidnapping people while their children are dying and their sole caretakers are being deported by ICE. There are multiple cases where they are kidnapping people out of hospitals.
What does kidnapping mean?
It means a government agency has been given license to disappear people. That is what it means.
What does that mean? So you mean an ICE agent takes an illegal immigrant into custody?
We got to squeeze in a quick
but you don't
break.
know if they're an illegal immigrant. That is my point. I don't use that term. You don't know what their status is. Okay. And so if you can just come and snatch somebody off the street and say you don't get due process, and that means I'm not a citizen. It is a disgusting thing that we're watching, and anybody who defends it is disgusting and despicable and deplorable when you see the horrific conditions that people are being kept in, and they don't deserve it.
They don't deserve it. Well, call me a despicable person because I think they should all be deported. Oh my goodness. Disappearing people? You mean sending them back to their home country? That's disappearing people? And if that is the case, then why weren't you so angry when Obama was doing it? You know, the president who deported the most illegals in U.S. history. Why weren't you upset when he was doing it? Oh, I forgot. Of course, because they didn't tell you to be angry about it. That's why you weren't upset. Everybody knew what was going on, but you just didn't care because they didn't tell you to be upset about it. But now that they told you to be upset about it, now you're outraged, even though you watched Obama do it too. And as a matter of fact, he did it more. But now all of a sudden you care. Now all of a sudden it's so horrible, terrible, don't get very bad thinking if you support this, you're disgusting and you're terrible. Well, didn't you vote for Obama? I rest my case. Anyway, moving on.
Well, first of all, the president has been clear and consistent in saying that he's going to fight labor trafficking and child trafficking. And this marijuana plantation is a clear-cut example of labor trafficking and child trafficking, which are heinous crimes. Additionally, I don't know of anybody except the governor of California who would argue that a marijuana plantation is an essential component of America's food supply chain. And everywhere you look in California, you see industrial child exploitation on a massive scale, an industrial scale. There are likely hundreds of thousands of children in California who are being exploited for their labor or exploited as part of sex trafficking. This administration is liberating these children and helping reunify them with their parents back in their home country. What the Biden administration did with respect to child trafficking is one of the great crimes in human history. Over 500,000 children were illegally trafficked into the country under the previous administration. When we've gone and looked for these children, Martha, the addresses that the U.S. government provided, in other words, the records that the government kept under Joe Biden, are all fake. Nobody ever checked if the addresses were real. Nobody ever checked if the sponsors were real. Nobody ever checked if they were really even relatives or parents or relations or safe. We recently recovered a young illegal alien, for example, who had been raped repeatedly by the adult male that the Biden administration handed to her. She was under constant video surveillance and was coached exactly what to say if an officer ever knocked on her door so that she would never be rescued. We have example after example. We go to homes, 13, 14, 15-year-old children who are raped on a daily basis because the Biden administration, because the Democrat Party chose to traffic them into this country. So we will be unrelenting in our effort to free these kids.
Yeah, this is a huge story, and the Biden administration tried to push them out of these holding facilities at the border and into the arms of people who were picking them up. There were some cases where one person picked up 150 children. So I doubt very much that was their uncle.
Were not all their children.
Well, whoa. Now that is just wild. One person was allowed to pick up 150 children, and the Biden administration just let it happen. What? Like, how does that even, like, bro, like, I get it. Sometimes mistakes happen, right? Even though that would be extremely tragic and really, really terrible, a child going with the wrong person, I would understand, right? Things can get mixed up sometimes, right? We've even seen situations in the past where, like a school has mistakenly sent the child with the wrong person in the past. Now, they've fixed most of those things in schools, but I would understand that. But to send 150 children with one person? Nah, bro. You are complicit. You are complicit. Here's Tom Homan speaking about how many children have been rescued.
Like 300,000 missing children under the last administration. We're out looking for now because, again, we found thousands of them.
300,000.
Some of the children we found with their family, perfectly safe. They just didn't respond to call-ins, or they went and took off because they didn't want to face the consequences of immigration court. But we rescued some victims of sex trafficking. We rescued some victims on forced labor. We found children working on ranches and chicken farms, not going to school, but enslaved labor in the United States of America. So that was the whole nexus of the last administration.
And sex traffic to pedophiles?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We found some in sex trafficking. I mean, we just, I think 2 weeks ago, we rescued a 14-year-old that was already pregnant, living with adult men.
How old?
Already pregnant. That was already pregnant. They found some in sex trafficking. I mean, we just, I think 2 weeks ago, we rescued a 14-year-old.
14. And this is what Democrats are defending. That's what they choose to defend. That's what people like Abby Phillips wants to try to fact check Scott Jennings live on CNN over. That's what Abby Phillips wants to fact check Jillian Michaels live on CNN over. Children, 14-year-old, pregnant, living amongst men. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So folks got to go to prison over this, man. Gots to go to prison. Gotta go. But it's even crazier. You know that raid on that farm, that cannabis farm that Scott Jennings and Abby Phillips and Jillian Michaels were talking about? Read that headline. Yep. Your eyes do not deceive you. Child predator among the 300 nabbed in the cannabis farm ICE raid. Yeah, this is where they picked up, I believe, some children as well. And there was one of these folks amongst them. Oh, yeah, here we go. Violent protesters attacked ICE agents during the operation that netted a convicted child predator working alongside minors. Yeah. That is what Democrats are defending at this point. Absolutely disgusting stuff. Absolutely disgusting stuff. It's gotten to the point where Democrats are defending that simply because Trump is against it. How low can this Democrat Party actually go? I feel like that's honestly a genuine question, or a great question, because you would have thought they would have hit rock bottom already, but it's just like every single week they continue to find another new low, another one. This is what you're defending? This is what you're planting your flag on. Like at some point you got to say, you know what? Hey, we got to put this thing in reverse. We going a little too far. All right, we're going a little too far. I get we supposed to be the resistance against Trump, but we got to put this thing in reverse, and we got to head back the other way, because we just. But no, it's like they keep on shifting gears, shifting gears to go even faster in the wrong direction. It's crazy, man. It is absolutely crazy. But as always, man, y'all get in the comments and you let me know your thoughts and your opinions on all of this, and make sure you guys hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. I would greatly appreciate it, because America needs to see what these Democrats are actually defending and what's actually happening. Okay? Y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.